This is like a real wonder. This year must be really special because not only is it like about to start the Hindu New Year, it's also the solar eclipse. If you move forward by 2 p.m. in the afternoon, 2:10 p.m., Saturn will go exactly on 0 degrees of Pisces. So it's a Sankranti for Saturn, okay? Its first ingress into the sign of Pisces. That is huge. And wherever the moon is, it will set the whole flavor for the next 2.5 years for Shani. You have to understand these are not, we have to look at everything upside down, inside out. Okay. Now, in Leeds, okay, the Vedic conference about 2 years ago, or was it 1.5 years ago, I did this Graha Purusha Chakra, which is all you put the nakshatra natally, whatever your, let's say it is a sun nakshatra, okay? So you put the sun nakshatra on the body of the Kala Purusha, okay? So let's say the sun nakshatra is the very first one. Let's say your sun is in, like, let's say Revati, okay? I'm just giving an example in Pisces. So you're taking that very first sun nakshatra and putting it on your head on this Revati right on top. And from Revati, you're counting all the other nakshatras till the very 27th nakshatra. And each of these nakshatras are assigned a body part. So it's like it begins with the head, which is Revati. And then after Revati comes Ashwini. So the Ashwini may be forehead or the eyes or the throat, whatever. The patterns are a little bit different. But each of these, then we set the whole nakshatra chart, okay, from the sun. It is called the Sun Surya Purusha Chakra, okay. It's all very evident Sanskrit words. Surya is sun, Purusha is the Vitruvian man, the Kal Purusha, the body of Kal Purusha. And the chakra is nothing but it's a circle. You're putting it in a certain format. You're putting all the nakshatras in a certain format, eyes, ears, so on and so forth. Okay. Of course, you need a working knowledge of nakshatras. You need to figure out where your sun nakshatra is, and then afterwards, all the nakshatras, then you have to put it on the thing. It is an exercise, it's not easy, but that is the main one. And then each of it has a significance. Okay. So, and exactly as we have done for the sun, we do it for the moon. Now, with the moon, you may say, huh, Sonal, how can we do it for the moon? You can understand for all the planets because they all have a particular nakshatra. And from there, we are counting to the moon, right? So, how can we do moon mapping? It is called the Janmatara. Your moon nakshatra is called the Janmatara. So once you put the sun, let's say in Revati, and let's say your moon is in Ashwini or Bharani, so it will be what number? If you count Revati, number one, number two, Ashwini, and number three will be Bharani.
Bhairani, yes.
Yeah. So if your moon is in Bharani, that means in the Surya Nakshatra chakra or the Purusha chakra, your moon is in the third place. Okay, so the third place could be the eyes, the nose, whatever. We have a formula. I will give you all the formulas and everything, and I will show you how it maps. So the third one will be that particular body part, and that third one will have a particular signification. That means it could be like gains or uh, like Raj Yoga or kingly disposition or happy disposition, whatever. So that means that by and large, from the Surya, every time there is a transit of the moon, when it transits, because it is permanent, your Janma Tara is permanent for this lifetime. So it will carry that flavor. Okay. So this is very helpful in seeing the natal placement of your moon, how it interacts, what is the big theme vis-a-vis your sun. Okay, sun. And when you do a gochara, that is a transit of moon, and you want to see what impact it has on your sun. Okay, I'm talking only of the sun right now. So on the sun, so then you will see where the moon is transiting and map it according to that. And then you will get it from the sun. So what impact that particular, let's say the moon is in a not a very good, let's say it is in the fourth, let's say the moon is in Uttara Bhadrapad, okay, which is the 27th constellation from Revati. Remember, your sun was in Revati in our example. So, if it is in the 27th constellation, that means it may be mapping to the feet or legs or the right leg or the left leg or whatever. So, that means, let's say, the flavor given for that is, let's say, losses or a death like situation. So every time the moon will transit that particular constellation of Uttara Bhadrapad, you will have that experience. Okay. But because from your sun to your Janmatara, it is very nice. It's like about gains and about well being or something. Okay. It's in Bharani, right? So maybe it is about well being. So it's very well placed. So you have to combine both the flavors. So for that particular day, if it is talking about like death and huge losses, heavy losses, through the gochara of the moon, so it will be mitigated. It won't be feel so terrible. Is everybody getting this? Yeah. You have to consider a lot of things for the transit. If you're doing it properly, you have to consider the Ashtaka Varga in your chart, in the Saturn's this, and so on and so forth. Okay. So that is one thing about Saturn's transit per se. There's a whole chapter dedicated in the Parashara on the transits. There are every single Saravali has a transit, Jataka Bharnam, one sec. Jataka Bharnam also has it. All most texts, Man Sagri also has it. Equally, the other powerful method is because it is a transit, guys. It is not your dasha. Remember that. The dasha will always take a higher precedence. Okay? Please make this a note. So don't get too scared. And whatever the results of Shani, it will always is to be seen through the lens of the Dasha and the Antardasha. Because you see, the thing with Dasha and Antardasha is it is long term. Okay, it is something which is consistent, it's there. Okay, transit is here today, gone tomorrow. In 2.5 years it's moved somewhere else. But the dasha is, if you get a transit of, let's say you're in a dasha of Shani, Rahu, which half of you seem to be, more than half of you are seeming to have some connection with Shani or Rahu, Antardasha or Shani Dasha, most of you here, which is like, oh my God. So then you can ask, oh Sonal, then is Shani transit important? Yes, that is where it is really important, because you're not only going through the dasha or the antardasha of Shani, you're also going to feel the impact of the transit. So the transit is kind of like a secondary or a tertiary layer compared to the main layer, which is the dasha. Okay, so please get it into your heads, don't panic. Everybody goes through the sade sati. Okay, everyone. So to say that, oh, it's going to be a disaster just on the basis of the Sade Sati is very fallacious argument, because you could well find that Shani people who have gone through the Sade Sati and who may have also gone through a Shani, dasha or an antardasha at the same time. It is very powerful because they have got married, they have done so much in that period. Okay, people have got married. Like, for example, I don't know if years ago, I think Shani was in Scorpio, and what's her name? George Clooney got married to that Middle Eastern woman. Somebody remember her name? What's her name? George Clooney's wife.
Amala or something
Yeah,
like that.
Amal, yeah.
She's a
Amal.
lawyer, I think. She's a lawyer.
Yeah. So Amal, yes. So she, when I checked up at the time, she was going through a moon debilitated, and Shani was in Scorpio, and her moon was in Scorpio. Absolutely thick of Sade Sati. Now, why would a Sade Sati get her married to such a powerful actor? And you would think, and he's had one marriage before, I think, and so many live in and so many affairs and all that, you would think, nothing is going to last, bull, this is all like, but hey, it's still lasting. They've got kids. So you see, don't ever underestimate the power of Shani. Never. Okay, don't think that, oh, all the sade satis are bad and I'm also in the dasha, it's all miserable. It is not. It depends on what is the misery, and that is the point I want to come to. Okay, the thing about Shani is it's all about the Vayu Tattva, okay? And I'm not going to go too much into these Vayus and different Vayus and all of that. But the main thing I want to arrive at is give you a little bit of a history, a little bit of a history, okay? All of you must have been to Varanasi, right?
Nope
Yes.
yet.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Shabnim, no?
No,
No, it's
what is it, Sona? Sorry, I couldn't.
Varanasi, the
Varanasi.
city of
Ah,
Varanasi.
no, Azize went. I didn't.
No. Not
Gitmedin mi sen
Varanasi.
Varanasi'ye?
No.
No, she didn't also. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So basically, if you go to Varanasi, right, if you see one, the main, every city, every temple, every region where there are big Shakti peeths and big temples, very powerful energy vortexes, will always have a Bhairav or a presiding specific Bhairav, kind of like the protector of the land. Protector, he is always going to be there. Okay. So the concept of Bhairav is very important in our entire learning. Very important. Okay, and I will tell you why. So this is from the Skand Puran. Okay, I would say that, one day I will do a like, depending on your chart, we can figure out where your Puran is. What is the specific Puran which is related to you? Okay. So that particular chart becomes very important for you. Okay. That particular Puran will become very important. So Skand Puran is often talks about, there's a whole chapters denoted to what is Bhairav and why did Bhairav manifest, and Kal Bhairav specifically. So the Kal Bhairav is also known as a Kotwal. He's like the police chief. I told you, he's like the overseer, the protector of the Varanasi. It's another name for Varanasi is Kashi. Okay. So the text talks about a lot of the positivity of the Bhairav temple. There is that Bhairav temple is always so crowded. I think Mirinda and all of you who would have gone would have noticed that, and Isabel and all that. So, who is this deity, Bhairav, and what are his names? And so he's been, Agastya said, he's asking one of his disciples that what is about the Bhairav and what is the nature of his and all of that. So then the answer comes, and this is also very similar to Narad Puran, where Bhairav is given a lot of importance because it says Bhairav is like another form. um Shiva had to take another Rudra form in order to manifest and to remove a lot of the ills of the world, lot of the sins and lot of the disturbances and the mental anguish and things like that. So he is also one of the ace yogis, and he's also a absolute ascetic, as you can see in the picture. He inhabits where there is all like graveyard and cemeteries and all of that, and where there's like a funeral pyres burning and all of that. And equally, he's also, if you go to him, he will also give you a lot of abundance. Okay, a lot of abundance, and he is literally the remover of all troubles. Okay, there are reams and reams written on Bhairav. We also did the Ashtabhairavs. We saw into it the Ashtabhairavs, right? For each planet, you did the mantra and so on and so forth. So essentially, the Bhairavs are extremely powerful, deity. Now, there is a story that goes about the Bhairav, right? That he was a disciple of Gorakhnath. Okay. So Gorakhnath is the guru of Matsyendra Nath, okay, from the Nath tradition. That's why Bhairav Nath, Nath means somebody who's a protector of you, okay. Now you have to understand Bhairav is a fierce form of Shiva, and it has all the Maheshwara, it has the Rudra energy of Shiva, it has the creation energy of Brahma, and it has the sustaining energy of Vishnu. So it is all of them gelled together. That is why, for people, especially women who are extremely afflicted by troubles, things are not working, going their way. One of the key deities is Bhairav. It is very, very important. I'm telling you, in this Kali Yuga, it is the Bhairav that is going to be of utmost importance for all of you. Okay. Um, and so, but Bhairav, now I'm talking of Shani. Why am I, it's about Shani, but why am I talking of Bhairav? And I will come to that in a minute. So, Bhairav's long legacy begins with his guru, Matsyendranath. And he had, now Matsyendranath is a ace, one of the greatest of the tantrics. He could do magic and real wonder, okay? Let me tell you, he's not an ordinary one. But there is a place in Assam called Mayang village, okay, in the Assam, in the state of one of the states of India where Kamakhya is, right? And there is the whole of that village is practices tantra from very young age. Kids are taught that they have a huge powers. For them it is not a big deal to like make things disappear and all that, and it is usually women who are the ace tantrikis. Okay, is everybody with me so far? Yeah, so they are absolutely phenomenal tantrikis. Okay, and they are also Bhairav worshippers, they are also Bhairavi worshippers, and of course that's why Kamakhya, they're very much related to Kamakhya. Okay, now what you have to understand is that Matsyendranath even went to that village, and legend has it that there is one very, very powerful tantriki. I don't know her name, I've forgotten, but she basically got a little annoyed with Matsyendranath and turned him into a pigeon, into a crow or a pigeon or something like, right? And she kept him as a pet. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So, and it is true, these are not just stories, because there are people uh, who have experienced that, okay, about the power and stuff like that. So, and then there was like, then the guru of, and after like decades or so, finally he was relieved of being a pigeon, or you know. So it's quite funny, okay? Or she turned him into a like a monkey, or they have this powers. They turn people, human beings, into little frogs and things like that, you know. But that is the power of these women and tantra. So it is a siddhi, it's a tantric siddhi, okay? So basically, Matsyendranath obviously became quite arrogant, so she had to teach him a lesson, okay? But so you can well imagine that the whole lineage of Matsyendranath, Gorakhnath, and that is where Bhairav Nath or Bhairav comes into the picture, okay? Now, again, he is like, Vaishnav Devi, he must have purposely, which is a very, very huge Shakti Peeth. Okay. If you ever go there, it's fantastic, but there's a lot of walking, but 12 hours of 8 to 10 hours of walking. But you can also do helicopter, go by helicopter. Okay. But anyway, so coming back to the story here, so essentially Kali basically then relieved Bhairav of his last moments because he messed with her and things like that. And she got angry. And so basically in his dying moments, he pleaded for forgiveness, and of course, and all was well and things like that. But one thing is very important, that enter Lord Shani or Shanishcharai or Shanishwarai. Okay, he's also called, one of his prime names is Shanishwarai, Shani and Ishwarai. So that means Shani, the only graha to get this kind of Ishwar status, that means the status of a god. That means he has to do something pretty big, pretty massive to get that. Now, the guru of Shani was Bhairav. Okay? So now you understand where I am going with this. So you have to understand that whom you please, whom you want to appease, whose umbrella you want to stay under when the going is really difficult. Literally, it boils down to that. Okay, so Bhairav as Shani Charai he was Shani. His mother sent him as a young kid to Bhairav and said, find a solution to my son. He is very sad, he is very morose. Remember, Chaya, the mother, was really kind of upset because the father was upset because the son was so dark and morose and depressive and all that. And so the father said, do something with him. So she came to Bhairav and said, I'm handing you over my son for education, but do something. He's really dark and depressive, and doesn't listen. He sits all day brooding and things like that. So Bhairav took him under the wing, and Shani did huge tapasya. He followed every single whatever Bhairav taught. He followed to perfection, and he took, we are talking of some hundreds of years where he kept following Bhairav, and he kept doing all the tapasyas, all the sadhanas prescribed for being a Bhairav Bhakt, okay, the devotee of Bhairav. and he succeeded. And finally, when Bhairav said, "Go away, Shani, you have learned enough. I am now your guru, and I let you go into the world, and you will get the status of being a graha." So Shani said, "But I have to still give you the Guru Dakshina, you know." And so his mother came to collect him, because you know how graduation mothers come to take their kids away and things like that. So he said, "What about the Guru Dakshina? You have taught me so well. I have to give you something." So before he knew it, before Bhairav could answer, he took Bhairav's sword and he cut his head, and he just, you know, and the mother started crying. Chaya was like in absolute tears, like, "My son is dead. His corpse is lying. What am I going to do, Bhairav? This is not what I send you for. All these years he did tapasya of yours." So Bhairav said, "Are you kidding me? Woman," he said, "don't be ridiculous. I deal in the dead." Look at this. Sorry. Look at the imagery here of Bhairav, right? He says, nobody dies without my consent. And I am the resurrector of things. No one dies without my consent. So he gave him within seconds, he resurrected Shani, and he said, "Why did you do this?" He said, "Because that's my Guru Dakshina to you. I owe you everything." And Bhairav replied that, "Hey, you know what? You don't have to give me anything. I am happy. I am putting you on the status of all my work and all the knowledge that I've taught. Go into the world and practice it, because any problems, you can always come back to me, because whatever I have taught, you have imbibed perfectly. So all the things I stand for, you stand for." Okay. And so he said that you will be an Ishwar. Ishwar means you will have a God-like status, a Devata status. Okay. You're the only graha who will have that kind of status, and you will oversee everything of human beings, misery, not misery, so on and so forth. Everything you will see forth. Okay. And so if you look at the whole Shani's motive, okay, if you look at Shani's look, it is very similar to Bhairav and things like that, okay? But what you have to understand, and the vehicle of is different, but what you need to understand of Shani is that his brother was Yama, okay, the god of death, who comes to the door, okay, and his Pratyadi Devata, okay, is Chitragupt. Anybody heard of the word Chitragupt? Chitra,
No.
anyone?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Gupt, Gupt. Okay. Chitragupt. Chitra in Sanskrit means a picture, a painting or a picture. Okay. And Gupt means secret. Okay. So Chitragupt is like his Pratyadi Devata for Shani. And the main deity, of course, is Yama. And the Mula means root. Okay. The root one is Brahma. Root Mula. Okay. Is Brahma. Okay. That means it's derived from Ka. Okay. Which is the akshara for Brahma. Okay. Ka is all about creation. So Shani is very much involved in the creation of things. Okay. Creation. Once everything is destroyed, then a new account can begin. It's like, you've paid your taxes, you paid everything. Now a new account is about to begin. Okay. So that is all like the purview of Brahma. And coming back to, of course, the god of death, you send somebody to die because they have done their time. Their karmas now are no more proper for them to keep living. It's a waste of their time. And that Shani will decide. And he will just tell his brother, go get them. Everybody getting this? Yeah. And Chitragupt is a very secret scribe. Chitra, as I said, is a picture. So it will give a complete, every single thing, detailed picture, like a Akashic record of your everyday karmas. And it'll be handed over to by Chitragupt to Shani. And then Shani will have a look and say, there's a problem there. Second house Shani. He did something naughty for work. He did something naughty to earn money. He took extra money which wasn't his. Or instead of giving paneer, he made analog paneer. There is, the paneer in India is horrible, horrid. Don't eat it, don't eat it. You will fall sick if you want to live properly. So anyway, I'm just I'm being jocular, but anyway, don't eat the paneer. So you'll be healthier off in India anyway. So why is it even there and why isn't it banned? It just escapes me. But the thing is, so essentially all the karmas are factored in. So you can't escape from Chitragupt. Okay? You can't escape it. So, one of the key things, remember, for any Shani transit, one of the key things, 2, 3 things you have to bear in mind. One is that you have to do the Saturdays, you have to, if possible, feed the crows or the blackbirds. Guys, this is so important. I cannot even begin to tell you. If you are panicked about Shani transit, you begin with this because it is the Pitris. Pitris is like Brahma. They have whole Shani is like the ruler of the Pitris. So you have to do that. You begin on this Saturday because it's perfect. Okay. Number 2, sesame oil. Sesame has especially black sesame, has a close relationship with Saturn. Very close relationship. Okay. So take a bath with sesame, as in not put it in the bath, massage yourself, and then you remove it with warm water or whatever water temperature, depending on the season. Just take a bath over it. Okay, that is number 2. Number 3, on every Saturday, make sure you light a black sesame oil lamp, especially in the evening. Okay? Is everybody clear on this?
Yes, I normally burn black candles.
Yeah, but see, it's not the same,
Yeah,
Oksana.
I understand. Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'll
It's
get that.
not, and it is so easy to make by yourself.
How do you make them, Sona?
It's easy. It's all you have to, if you have a problem, I either go to the Indian store and get the wick. Okay, number 1. That is the easiest. You'll have a pack of 50 or 100 of them or 200 of them, and it's so light. They're already pre-made. All you have to do is remove one wick, put it in a one sec, like a container like this, like a diya like this, terracotta. but you
Yeah.
cannot reuse the terracotta. So one a day, you'll have a stacks 365, you'll have to put, or like, sorry, one a week. So there'll be like, 52 of them you'll need. So if that is not possible, then just get like a lamp, a brass tiny lamp. Is everybody familiar with a brass tiny lamp? Yeah? No? Yes?
No.
Okay. Sarah, are you familiar? Yeah?
Is it like the one you show me where you put the little wick to the
Yes.
side?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
Okay.
So that is that. And then all you have to do is put the wick in, or you make the wick. Making a wick is so easy. Take a ball of cotton, keep pressing it like this, till it's like long. And then do one more time, another one. And then you twist like a braid, Okay. You put both of them together and twist it. And then you dip it in the sesame oil, put the sesame oil into the lamp, and then let it go. Okay.
Okay.
So that is definitely on Saturday mornings and evenings, if you can do twice. I would recommend twice. And if you are really brave and if you really can stand it, you can add mustard oil in the evening as well as neem oil. Neem oil is so bitter and stinky, but I will tell you, it is one of the best remedies for Saturday night or evening. It really is. Okay.
And so now black sesame oil is it again from Indian shops or
You find it everywhere. Tesco's.
black sesame
No,
oil?
forget black sesame.
Oh,
You
no,
normal,
standard sesame
standard
oil.
sesame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
Standard
fine.
sesame is fine too. Forget
Okay.
about black and all. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Chinese health food shops has it. Every place will have sesame. Now
Yeah,
sesame.
no, for
Yeah.
sesame, for standard sesame, I know,
Yeah.
but for the black sesame oil,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
never seen any anywhere.
If you go to the Chinese supermarkets, you can find it, but it's okay. Normal sesame oil is perfect as well.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And these people, Turkey and all, they use so much of tahini. They have tons of sesame, or sorry, tons of sesame oil. So it's not a problem.
So
that
you just dip the cotton part into the oil and it burns?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay.
I can show it to you how to make it. Can everybody see the cotton here?
Yeah.
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 So this much you take, okay? And then all you have to do is split it up in the middle, make two pieces, okay? And then put little turmeric, little yellow color on your hand, and then just keep rolling like this. It's so easy. Keep rolling till it's super thin and your hand is warm, okay? Like this. So you've got one, okay, put it aside. Then number two, same thing you do, keep rolling till it's super thin, okay? Yeah? And now you've got two, right? So now it's time, and they're not even the same size, it doesn't matter. And then you braid it. It's like you're pressing it again, so it becomes like twisted and it's like two together, and then press it really hard. And that's it. And then all you have to do is, like put it on like I've got a different one. I've got a South Indian diya where you can put it through this little hole right inside and it'll sit there. You can do both, or you can just let it sit here, and then pour oil till here, till the top, or at least 3/4. Is everybody getting this?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's easy,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
really
no
easy.
cost, it's cheap.
Okay.
It's like and reusable. If you take this Then this, if you buy this, then this you have to one time use only. You can't keep using it. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to, it's terracotta, you have to go and on a crossroad, throw it or break it up or let it go in a flowing river. Okay, guys? So that those
Yeah.
two are, it's like I'm telling you, at least do those 4 things I have started you with. You know, the bath, the sesame oil, the diyas, the the rice. Oh yeah, and the rice for the blackbirds. 5 things I told you. So you need a pinch of turmeric, rice, a little bit of butter or ghee, little bit like half a spoon, and black sesame seeds. Okay, all of them mixed together, boil, little bit of salt, boil together, let it get cooked properly because you don't want to give raw food to the crows. They'll come and hate you for it, okay? So, and then that's it. And then you make little balls. And on that Saturday, begin this Saturday. This is a very important remedy. Before the eclipse, start it. The eclipse is at 10:25 a.m. in the morning. Do this, get up a little early and begin, okay? This is 10:25 UTC, UK time, I think. I think it is UK. It'll be probably later for you guys, Turkey and Russia and everyone else. So, okay? And
So I'm sorry. Does this remedies also help with the clash with Rahu that it'll have with Rahu, or that's different?
what do you mean clash with Rahu? Yes, because Rahu and Saturn are together, right?
Yeah. They will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will help you. Just begin with this at least.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because at least let Shani take over, between Rahu and Shani. I think Shani, if you do the work, it will give you rewards. If you
Yeah.
do make a conscious effort to be good to people, especially staff. So, Sarah, you deal with a lot of staff people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
lot of the underprivileged, that is all Shani.
Yeah.
That is all Shani. So you want to be good to them. You want to go little, you want to do something, small things for them to make their life a little bit better. That is a cardinal rule about Shani because
Mm-hmm.
Shani rules all the downtrodden,
Mm-hmm.
people who are underprivileged, under the staff, the workers, the cleaners, the all of them. Okay, every now and then just give little something, maybe a sandwich or something, whatever it is, but just do some seva. It is called seva. Okay, that is very important.